One sec. I got things swapped around for some reason. Let's go to- Okay. I don't really know why it picked OBS decided to pick this browser instead of the other browser for some reason. So okay. What up, Claytriots? It's your boy, technically Clay, streaming at you from ominous, dreary, scary St. Louis, Missouri. The weather doesn't look that great out right now. It looks like it's gonna rain pretty hard, or hopefully we don't get any tornado warnings or anything this time. But yeah, the weather's not looking too hot out. It's probably gonna be an inside day, which is fine with me. I think personally that these types of days just make the inside feel all that much more cozier. So wherever you are, though, I hope you're having some good weather, or if not, like I said, look on the bright side. It makes it cozier on the inside. So let's see. So since the last time you saw me, what did I do? Primarily, so like I told you guys, I'm taking this week off, so that's why I'm here already this early in the morning. So this whole week is probably going to be like relatively early morning streams. But yeah, so after I streamed, I went to Costco. I picked up a bunch of stuff, took it back. What else did I do? I went on a weird binge of like Neck Deep, like the band. I for those unaware, I'm like a pop punk kind of guy. Like that's like the type of music that I listen to the most. And Neck Deep had always been one of these bands that were on the periphery. I knew their hits. I had listened to them occasionally. But the other day I saw a video, or yesterday I saw a video of them performing live at Vintage Vinyl, which is a pretty popular record store on the Loop in St. Louis. And I was like, damn, these guys are really good live. They were doing an acoustic set. So I was just very impressed. So then I went on a binge and I listened to like 3 or 4 of their albums yesterday, just in full. And I was like, yeah, these guys are talented. I like them. So I might have a new-ish band that I'm gonna start listening to. Like I said, I was aware of them and I have listened to I've listened to their hits, but I was just very impressed with them. So I did that yesterday. I played some more Slay the Spire. Still no luck on Ascension 10, unfortunately. I had one run that went all the way to the last boss, and I had forgotten that the final Ascension is you have to fight 2 bosses in a row at the end. So there's a chance that if I had remembered that I could have like save scummed the first fight to end with the most HP possible. It's possible that I still wouldn't have been able to beat the second guy, but I ended the first boss with like 20 HP, and then I realized, oh crap, I have to do a whole other boss, and I just wasn't able. I didn't have enough HP to get through it. So, but it does show that it is possible. I also realize now that Ascension 10, I think, is the highest Ascension. I thought it was still going up to 20, like Slay the Spire 1, but it looks like Ascension 10 is the highest. So this is the last one I got to do for the Ironclad. This is all for the Ironclad. I still have to do all the others, obviously. So yeah, I did that. I watched a little bit more Stargate. I also caulked a couple more windows. I'm trying my goal. Hopefully today I'm going to try to finish up the upstairs of my house, and then I'm going to go. Maybe this week, since I'm off, I might try to just finish the downstairs as well. A lot of these things, they just have like, a lot of my windows just have like cracks in the seams and stuff that I'm just trying to touch up right now. So I did a little bit of that as well. And then I went to bed. I woke up. I worked out today. Today was upper body day. It's always harder for me to motivate on days when I'm not doing it over lunch, like when it's not a part of my normal schedule, because I have to I just wake up, I go straight into my workout, and then I don't know, it's just harder for me to motivate, but I did it today. I did decide, I guess, to wear my shirt from Lala today as well. Or my jersey, I guess I should say. And yeah, so then I did that. I took a shower, made a little bit more coffee because I had some leftover that I was starting with from the fridge. And then, so I made a little bit more. And then I came up here to be with you, the viewer. Hello. Today we're just going to go over the news of the day. I got some good stuff for you, I think. A couple Fox News videos, which are a few Fox News videos, which, those are always fun. So, and yeah, I guess we'll just go ahead and jump right in.
All right, President.
So, let's start with, you know it, you love it, Iran. We're going back to Iran. This Chiron is not about Iran though, so I'm hoping. Okay, it looks like this is just the out like of their last segment where they were talking about Cuba. I have another video for Cuba later, but so yeah, since yesterday we learned that Iran struck UAE nuclear facilities. America, I think, was generally like tied down with their Beijing summit. They didn't want to enter a hot war again before the Beijing summit because it would have been incredibly embarrassing, even more embarrassing than canceling the first time because we were in a hot war, a misadventure of our own choice and making. It would have been even more embarrassing to do it a second time. So they at least wanted to wait until after their summit with Beijing. And so that means that, though, now it might be, they might be trying to make a decision again. Are they going to go back into a hot war? Are they not? It's hard to tell at this point. If they do anything, I'm thinking they're leaning towards airstrikes, but I'll get more into that as we watch this video. We'll see if we can get any more information. But this one is from Fox News. It says Iran strikes on the table as Trump news warnings. So let's see what they're talking about here.
All right, President Trump held a phone call with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu yesterday to discuss the latest on the...
That's never a good start. That's never a good sign. We all know what Israel's goal here is. Israel wants America to send every corn-fed, just out of high school 18-year-old to the meat grinder of Iran. They want to kill as many American soldiers in Iran as possible. As long as it destabilizes Iran, that is what Israel wants. So never a good sign when Netanyahu, also the person who probably has the pictures in the vault somewhere of, Donald Trump and his Epstein circumstances, let's just say. It's never a good thing whenever these two are talking.
The war in Iran. The president also sending a clear warning to Iran, writing on Truth Social, quote, "For Iran, the clock is ticking and they better get moving fast or they won't be anything left of them. Time is of the essence."
Oh my God.
Fox News
how many times is he gonna say the same thing? It's so annoying to me. I don't know why this irritates me so much, but he says the same thing every single time and nothing ever ends up happening. Like nothing ever ends up happening. Do you know how many times he's made this exact same threat since the beginning of the ceasefire? It's at least 3 times that he's said this, and he has always negotiated himself off the cliff every single time. This is, I don't take any stock in this. This is meaningless. The words of our president are meaningless at this point. What a great world we live in. What a great country we live in.
Contributor and former CIA station chief Dan Hoffman joins me now. Dan, good morning to you. So we're hearing from our reporters in Israel that there is a real sense there that right now the resumption of military action is only a matter of time. So what are the chances the president makes that move this week?
Yeah, I think we're at an inflection point right now. And look, the United States military has done significant damage to Iran's drone capabilities, their ballistic missile sites, as well.
I heard that there was new reporting out that I'd have to double check this, but that 90% of Iran's missiles and drones were still intact. Let me see if I can find that. 90% Iran missiles still intact. Classified U.S. and NATO intelligence assessments indicate that roughly 90% of Iran's underground missile storage launch facilities and coastal launch sites are partially or fully operational, while earlier U.S. military statements claimed were decimated. Intelligence reports confirmed Tehran has retained about 70%. 70% is from that New York Times thing, but I thought someone estimated it up to 90%. Maybe it's just the launch sites. Maybe that's indicating their facilities or something. But okay, so I'll stick with the 70% number because I think that's pretty much verified at this point that Iran still has 70% of their missiles, but still having 90% of their facilities still intact is also like crazy, which goes to show exactly what I was saying. They build them inside of mountains. Like, what are you going to do? Not even a nuclear bomb could get to these missile sites. Not even a nuclear bomb could like destroy them or something. Like, there's nothing you can do about it. Yeah, that was my assessment from the beginning, that they were always lying about saying that the missiles and drones were decimated. That was ridiculous.
As well as their nuclear program, what we haven't done so far is change the regime's behavior. We have not induced them to begin negotiating in good faith over a long-term solution to what concerned us about the JCPOA, and that is their nuclear program, the stored highly...
Now, here's the question, buddy. Here's the question. Why? Why haven't we been able to? What's the reasoning? Why haven't we been able to? Ask yourself that question. I mean, the clear answer is that America was incapable, unable to force Iran to capitulate. And no amount of like grandstanding or just like you can't just like hopium your way into this. You can't like just like pretend like America truly definitely is able to do a thing that it's not able to do. America is incapable of convincing Iran or forcing Iran's hand here. And so there's nothing America can do. They never seem to ask that question of themselves. Why is America not able to get Iran to capitulate? Why? Like, the answer is obvious, but they never even ask the question.
The enriched uranium that we need to gain access to and remove from Iran, their ballistic missile program, and their support to proxy terrorists. Ultimately, that's how the Trump administration's military campaign against Iran will be judged. And of course, Iran has disrupted the flow of traffic in the Strait of Hormuz. We also need to gain escalation dominance there. So I'm sure the president is huddling with his advisors.
And just straight up admitting that they don't have escalation dominance, which is a rare occurrence. Usually they like to pretend like they always have escalation dominance, even when it's obvious that they don't.
Receiving intelligence reports from Director CIA Ratcliffe about Iran's negotiating strategy, their plans, their intentions, their pain points, and I'm sure that military strikes are on the table. I would not be surprised if we continue to look at decapitation strikes. Perhaps those are the most likely to induce a change in this.
Oh my God. We live in hell, man. This is hell. This is purgatory. They do the same thing over and over again. Oh, just one more decapitation strike. Oh, what happened last time we did a decapitation strike? Oh yeah, the hardline sun came in and like the IRGC took complete and total control. Yeah, I'm sure the next one will do great. What happened when you did a decapitation strike on Hamas? Oh yeah, more hardline factions took control. We go through the exact same thing over and over again. And this is the clearest example that America has no way to change anything, because they're trying to do the same things that they have tried and failed over and over and over again. And they're just trying to look busy at this point. That's basically all it is. They're just trying to look busy, like it's actually worth it to be spending like billions of dollars a day on this, like adventurism that hasn't not even from an American capitalist, like imperialist perspective, has even like gotten anything for like our pedo billionaires, which is like the primary goal. Like, so they're not, I don't know, man. This is like I said, we live in hell. This sucks.
Regime's behavior.
Yeah, Dan, when you hear from Iranian officials right now, they're saying that they want guarantees from the United States, even before entering into negotiations, that the U.S. recognizes Iran's control over the Strait of Hormuz. So it sounds like right now they don't just want to survive this war, they want to benefit, they want to gain from it. So what do you think the calculation is in Iran, inside Iran right now?
Yeah, they do.
Well, I think
because they can.
Right now, and that's a key question to be asking, because we do need to try to see the world through the eyes of these Iranian IRGC leaders, specifically General Vahidi, who is leading.
What do we think they're going to say? They're all psychos. They're crazy. They don't even realize. They don't even realize how decimated they are. That's how crazy they are. I'm guessing that's what we're going to hear.
By all accounts, the country right now, in spite of the fact that there's a new Ayatollah. The key for Iran is how they perceive their actions against the United States. They clearly believe that there's a threat, a domestic threat from protesters, and so they're going to suppress that and violate the human rights of their own population. They need to appear strong against the United States.
These people who hate American protesters with their fucking like very being like cannot go out and like talk about like protesters in Iran. Like they don't have the right to, unless I see this dude out there protesting and getting his like shit kicked in by the police, like all like all of the valiant brothers and sisters out there who were protesting for the Palestinians back in the day, then I'm not going to buy your your fig leaves about how much you care about the Iranian protesters. Come on.
Want to appear to be the face of resistance, to gain more support from among their proxy terrorist groups like the Houthis, who continue to be engaged against our Gulf allies in the region, and Hezbollah, not to mention Hamas and proxy Shia militant groups in Iraq. So I think that's behind some of Iran's bluster, and they're probing the United States. They want to reduce or eliminate altogether U.S. influence in the Middle East.
Yeah, and on Friday.
Yeah, but he didn't answer the question. Like, why do you think Iran feels like they are able to do this? And the answer should be obvious, because they already did it. They already did all of these things through military means. If war is, politics by other means, they accomplish their political objectives. They control the Strait of Hormuz. They decimated like 12 American bases in the region that will be inoperable for the foreseeable future. They got a lot of the Gulf states to like start to question America's capabilities and ability to be able to defend them, right? I don't know, like they were able to accomplish all of these things through military means. So of course they're going to ask for that and more in the discussions about like negotiated settlement for peace. Like that makes perfect sense to me. You don't ask for what you've already accomplished militarily. You ask for more in order to make it stop, like in order for this to come to an end. So that's what they're probably gonna ask for, more than what they've already accomplished.
Friday, the president announced a major action in Nigeria. He announced that U.S. and Nigerian forces killed the second in command of ISIS globally, saying on X, though he thought he could hide.
Another decapitation strike. Let's see if it works this time. I'm gonna, my Kalshi bet, like if I had to place a Kalshi bet on that, I would say no, it's probably not going to be the end of ISIS by taking out their second in command. Again, you can't get rid of this. You can't bomb your way you can't militarily defeat an insurgency like that. You have to fix the underlying problems that undergird their philosophy and their ideology.
In Africa, but little did he know, we had sources who kept us informed on what he was doing. What does that do for our ongoing war on terror, and also what message could that possibly send in a situation
war
like
on terror,
Iran?
dude?
Well, I think very notable counterterrorism operation where we partnered with our Nigerian government forces, armed forces, and so they're a force multiplier for our worldwide counterterrorism efforts. This guy we targeted, Abu Bilal al-Munaki, he was a very senior, reportedly the #2 leader of ISIS. And so we are going to be disrupting plots, not just in Western Africa, but globally.
How many ISIS leaders have we killed, to be honest, since the start of the war on terror? I mean, it has to be dozens at this point, right? Like, I don't understand why we even pretend anymore that like taking out another leader of ISIS is going to change anything whatsoever. There's no military way to defeat ISIS. You have to make a legitimate effort to bring stability to the region. And that involves a lot of things. But first and foremost, it involves, a free Palestine. That's number one. Until there's a free Palestine, there will never be stability in the region. As long as Israel is a, genocidal Nazi state that is attacking all of its neighbors constantly, there's never going to be stability. And therefore, there will never be an end to ISIS, right? Number two, you need to, if at the very least, remove America's negative influence in the region. in terms of trying to destabilize regimes and like what we're doing in Iran right now, but just all over like the Saudi Gulf states, like all of them, like we are constantly trying to meddle in these countries in a way that is unsustainable and creates a large amount of resentment and hatred towards America and the actual people who live in these countries. You need to do that. And then like if you want to help militarily against ISIS, I don't necessarily have a problem with that. However, it's pointless to do if you are not actually trying to like increase the stability in the region by like getting rid of America's negative foreign influence on the region. There's no point to doing it unless you're going to take that first step. That's my personal opinion on that.
By striking him, it demonstrates that we have the intelligence capability to find and fix the location of terrorist leaders and take the fight to the enemy. We're not deploying hundreds of thousands of troops to Africa. We're just eliminating a terrorist threat, and that's a great success.
Yeah, the president says the clock is ticking, and we will all be watching, as we always do. Fox News contributor Dan Hoffman. Dan, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, well, there you go, people. It says like the title is strikes are on the table. I think that's just based on Trump's tweet. It might happen. I really don't. I don't know at this point. If it's going to happen, like I said, it wasn't going to happen before the Beijing summit. So if it's going to happen, it'll happen, in the future. It'll probably, if it happens at all, though, it'll probably be airstrikes, I think. I don't think that it seems like Trump is really hesitant to commit to any sort of boots on the ground operation. And so I'm guessing it would be something like that. It sounds like Israel is prepared to go back into war again. It'll be no different than last time, though. Like, let's be honest, it'll be no different than last time. And it will inevitably end after America runs out of missiles again. We went through 50% of our missiles in 6 weeks of war. That means that we are going to go through another 50% in another 6 weeks. That means we will be completely gone, completely unable to continue fighting after another 6 weeks of war. So, at least there's that silver lining, I guess. I don't think America would even let the stockpiles get that low. So if they did go into airstrikes again, I would guess they would either do it at a much slower pace than they did last time, or they would they would only do it for like 2 to 3 weeks and then ask for a ceasefire again, like they did last time. So, okay, there you go, people. That's the Iran situation. We're going to go to this video now. So this is another Fox News video. This is, I guess they're going to discuss some of the fallout from Trump's China trip. The title says, just in, Taiwan president responds to Trump's historic China visit. That's kind of what I hope to learn about. Although Fox News, not even just Fox News, honestly, all of these news channels, they clickbait the hell out of me all the time, where they put Taiwan in the title, but then they talk about a bunch of other shit. So, but yeah, I want to hear what the Taiwan president has to say about this. I also want a quick fact check on myself from the other day when I was talking about Taiwan. I mean, I talked about the statistics of like who is the percentage who are in support of independence versus status quo versus like who want to peacefully reunify or whatever. I think that the stats that I was looking at weren't up to date or anything. And like, I think the most recent ones have the people who just want status quo at about 60%. So I did want to do a quick fact check on myself on that one. But okay, let's go ahead and let's watch this video. Let's see what the Taiwanese president has to say.
Now to the White House, where Alex Hogan is reporting live for us. Hi, Alex.
Hi, Rich. So the president telling Iran the clock is ticking in that new Truth Social that you mentioned earlier, indicating that hostilities could resume if there is no deal between the U.S. and Iran. This also comes as other countries are reacting and responding to the president's historic meeting with China that he returned from earlier this weekend, with today the president holding a phone call with the South Korean president to discuss some of the ins and outs of that meeting. And in Beijing, President Trump says that he and Chinese President Xi Jinping discussed Taiwan. That was a large focus in that pending 14 billion arms sale to Taiwan in
The Chiron says, discuss Taiwan arms package with China's Xi.
great detail, those words sparking speculation. Today, Taiwanese President Lai Ching-te says that everyone there is concerned about the issue. Lai Ching-te said that while Taiwan will not provoke China or escalate the conflict, it will not give up its sovereignty or
What'd she just say? It will not. Sorry, I'm immature. That's why you watch me that.
provoke China or escalate the conflict. It will not give
will
up
not.
its sovereignty or free will and free way of life, nor will it be sacrificed. Now, White House officials today are also reacting to
Says Taiwan's president says not giving up sovereignty. Yeah, I mean, look, Taiwan, like I said, the stats are like 60% want the status quo, but I think the people who want to reunify with China are the vast majority, or the vast minority, like the 20% or so, I think. But most people just want the status quo with when it comes to China and Taiwan. I talked about it a little bit the other day, but I do think that Taiwan, like, the best option, like I'm telling you, you do not want to be a pawn in America's imperial games against China. Because like, if you look at like what happened to Ukraine, like generations of men are just like gone. Like they've blown through, they have sent like entire generations of men into the meat grinder, and they will like just never to come back again. Like it's not good, and America doesn't give a shit about the Ukrainian people. America doesn't give a shit about the Ukrainian soldiers who went in to fight against Russia. They only care about how much they are able to destabilize Russia, and they don't care what cost it comes at. So again, I would say Taiwan, I don't think your best option is to try to militarily saber rattle on behalf of the United States. I think that you should seriously consider what it would look like if you were to actually go into a hot war on behalf of the United States against China. Because look at how little America was able to defend its allies against Iran. And that's Iran, a like lower middle power. Like they're essentially a regional superpower now, but they were just like a lower middle power that America was just unable to defend any of its client states from. And China is a million times stronger than Iran is. So, and I said before also, I don't think China would care that much about Taiwan and reunification if America wasn't constantly using Taiwan as a chess piece, as a bulwark against China, as a military base to put right up against Chinese territory, right? Like, I don't think that they would care as much if it wasn't for that. So, but at this point, I think there's no, you're going to eventually become a part of China, no matter what. Like, I'm just letting you know. If China wants to do it militarily, they can do it militarily. They claim that they just want to do it through peaceful measures. They want Taiwan to essentially be like a Hong Kong style situation where they can have their own independent government, they can have their own independent system, they can still be capitalist or whatever, but they will come under the leadership of China, and under the officially recognized as a Chinese territory, or like they would claim as a Chinese territory or whatever, you know. So that's my personal opinion on the matter. But anyway, the Taiwanese president and most of the Taiwanese leadership, I would guess, are going to be very, very oppositional to my perspective. But you know, I'm just saying, it's not going to be good for your people if you go down the saber rattling proxy war route.
that, trying to reassure some of the concerns and fears, saying that the status quo has not changed.
The president was really clear about this. There's no change in American policy on Taiwan.
The visit, of course.
There was no change in policy, but officially. However, there was a change in tone, and there was a change in rhetoric, not just from Trump, but also from Rubio and the various officials who were having discussions around this. They seemed to, in my mind, recognize that it is pointless to saber rattle against China anymore. Historically, the past 10 years or so, I would say, America has been very, very saber rattly towards China. But I think that with the recognition that America's military isn't as strong as we thought it was with Iran and stuff, it has become an impossible task to try to even pretend like America would be able to defeat China in some sort of hot war. And so I think that there's been a very significant change in rhetoric so far, even if they're not officially saying that there's a change in policy.
First focused heavily on trade between the two countries. It also addressed the war in Iran and efforts to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. China is the largest buyer of Iranian oil. And while President Trump says he did not ask President Xi to pressure Iran, there is new fallout today as Democrats call on the administration to end the war.
I don't think we need China's support. I think the fastest way to end the war in Iran is just to stop digging a hole even deeper. And that's what we should do right now. He's gotten into this in this war that's making us less safe. So no, we don't need China to get us out. We just need to end it.
We have not seen.
So I guess what he's advocating for is a unilateral withdrawal, which like is probably honestly America's best bet at this point, is a unilateral withdrawal, which would just be a recognition of loss, right, of failure. But at least under that circumstance, you know, like in that circumstance, that would be Iran continues to control the Strait of Hormuz. Iran may continue attacking Gulf state actors if they, if they do anything against them. And America will have essentially retreated somewhat from the region because all of their military bases would have, or not all of them, but a lot of them have been destroyed. A lot of the people who were on all of those military bases were evacuated to hotels, and some are like potentially back home now and stuff. I don't really necessarily imagine them being sent back anytime soon. So there is like a unilateral withdrawal sort of element to that as well. But I would say that that is probably America's best bet from just like the American perspective. In terms of getting peace in the region, though, I think having a negotiated settlement with Iran would probably be a better option.
Seeing the president publicly here today. He is currently at his golf course in Virginia, although we do know that the president also spoke with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, with that call lasting about 30 minutes.
Are they talking about Iran?
All right, Alex Hogan live for us at the White House today. Alex, thank you.
Okay, I'm going to skip some of the Iran discussion because I already talked a lot about Iran in the last video. This Chiron says Trump returns from high stakes summit. So let's see if they talk more about the Beijing summit, any more fallout from it in the rest of this video.
With China also.
Well, we are, but I mean, we also.
And in years past, has the U.S. really accomplished much in these massive summits? It seems like we're continually talking about the same issues with China also.
Well, we are, but I mean, we also had that in the 70s and 80s when we were dealing with the Soviets, and Ronald Reagan was perfectly willing to go to Reykjavik and other places to meet with Chairman Gorbachev. And, that kept us from getting into a conflict. And we had a big report come out from Heritage this year, Rich, called Tidal Wave. And it's our first AI-based report. Really fun. Anyone who wants to geek out, it's on heritage.org. But
okay. Heritage sucks, by the way. The Heritage Foundation, that's where a lot of the shittiest policies that we have to live through now, that's where a lot of it, that's the think tank that a lot of it gets funneled through. And now I guess they're doing AI policy papers. Dear God.
First AI-based
Just
report.
kill me
really
now.
Fun. Anyone who wants to geek out, it's on heritage.org. But the key finding that was consistent across all the AI platforms was a war between the United States and China is a 10% blow to the global GDP. That's global recession, if not depression. We want to avoid that if we can by reasonable means without appeasing. Dude.
No, that is copium to the max. A 10%? No. I've said it before, but I'm going to say it again. So you're seeing the ramifications of Iran shutting down 20% of the world's energy supply right now. There's shortages in Asia. There's shortages in some Latin American countries and stuff like it, and Americans gas prices are going up higher and higher. And we haven't even hit like the worst of it, where there's actual like outages, like where stockpiles run out, and then you have to like shut down the facilities that are holding them and stuff, like where it takes years to get them back up and running. Like we're and like then there's also like the fertilizer, which will then impact food prices in the future. Like all of these things happen because of 20% of the energy to the world being shut down by Iran. Now I want you to imagine if China, like the manufacturing hub of the world, where every single thing in your house that you have right now was either manufactured or parts of it were manufactured in China. I want you to imagine now that China decides to shut that down. They decide to shut down any export of any of these small parts, any of these technologies, like critical magnets or minerals or whatever, like shuts down all of this to the vast, anybody who is aligned with America, let's say, like we'll say America, the EU, maybe Japan, South Korea, like all of these countries no longer get all of the stuff that China produces. God help us. It's not going to be a 10% GDP drop. It's going to be a international economic collapse, the likes of which we have never experienced. Like imagine the Great Depression in America, but like multiplied like tenfold and then across the entire world. Like it would be like the banking, the 2008 financial crash, except 1,000 times worse. And like it would impact everybody, man. It would be crazy. So that's like and she's not even talking about the fact that like militarily, like how little America would be able to do against China anyway. It's not like America can produce its tools of death without China. Like it needs China to do that. And also America produces like 20 missiles a year, whereas China can produce unlimited missiles per year because they have state capitalism and we just have private, private bureaucrats just stealing all this super profits off the top of like Raytheon or whatever. It's no question that we would lose, but then also the international implications to the world economy are like they would be insane.
China. That's why these summits are important, and we can hopefully get to a resolution of China similar to what happened with the Soviet Union.
We hear so much speculation as to when or if China will move on Taiwan. What do you think about that? And what do you think would make China less likely to move on Taiwan?
I think that we have to say when, because it is probably self-delusional to say if, and that's another part of this tidal wave. And the way to do it is you deter China. You make sure
this is stupid. This is just them projecting America, like how America would feel and like what America would do about Taiwan if they were in China's shoes. China doesn't want to engage in a military action to take Taiwan. They would prefer for Taiwan to just like accept and like negotiate and be like, yes, we will be a part of China, and we will have our own independent government. Like that's what China wants. They are gung ho though. These people are gung ho on making it seem. Oh, thank you. Making it seem like China is just can't wait to militarily go in and take Taiwan. Guess what? If China wanted to militarily go and take Taiwan, they could do it right now. They could have done it like 5 years ago, 10 years ago. Like they have the capabilities to do it. They just don't want to. Also, China feels like the status quo actually benefits them. The longer they wait, the more decline America, the more America declines and the less capable America becomes, the more misadventures America gets into, the more bogged down they get into, the more overstretched they get. From China's perspective, waiting as long as possible is definitely ideal. But yeah. And the ideal, again, I think their ideal situation would be America would be so battered, so incapable, so openly unable to defend Taiwan that they would just give up their rhetoric about saying they'll defend Taiwan and just stop sending them missiles and stop stop trying to start a proxy war between them. That's a big if. I don't really trust America to ever make a smart decision when it comes to their imperialist ambitions, but yeah.
United States is as strong as it can be. That's why the president's 1.5 trillion.
Let's go back in here from the beginning.
This tidal wave. And the way to do it is you deter China. You make sure the United States is as strong as it can be. That's why the president's 1.5 trillion.
Well, then he's failing. He's failing. He's the great nation builder of China. That's what Donald Trump is, the great nation builder of China.
Defense, or rather war budget that he's submitted is so very important. This is a historic commitment to the United States military. And bear in mind, that's what President Reagan did too. He built up so quickly, with SDI, missile defense, that the Soviets couldn't match it. And they wound up destroying their own economy. And so I think that's the kind of much more peaceful route, peace through strength.
So you're saying, what are you saying? You're saying that we need to build up our missile supplies so much that or build Taiwan's missile supplies so much that China won't do anything? How? How? Like, we just went through 50% of them in 6 weeks of war. How are you going to do that? America is incapable of producing anything. It sucks at producing its stuff. That's one of our main things, is that we're terrible at producing things. So I don't know, man. That's just like, even if it were the case that would actually deter China in any meaningful way, it's still like a fantasy world that's just not possible. America is incapable of producing stuff
that the president wants to pursue, and you deter China. You make Taiwan just not something desirable, not something that they want to get involved in. And so that's what I would very strongly recommend.
And bringing things now closer back here to the United States, or off the coast of the United States, 90 miles at least, in Cuba. The U.S. is reportedly planning.
Okay, I'm going to stop here because I got a different video that I'm going to go to talk about Cuba. So, yeah, I don't know, man. I think Taiwan, at least the leadership of Taiwan, is still very much in. I think they're still very much living in the past. And they're like, if they think that there is even a chance that America can defend Taiwan against China, I just don't think it's possible anymore. And I think that they need to come to that realization if they don't want to send generations of men in their country into a meat grinder that will inevitably have the exact same end result as peaceful reunification. I don't know, man. I hope that, I don't know. Our ideal situation, like I said, is that America just becomes so weakened and so unable to, so on its face, on your face, unable to defend Taiwan, that these people have to be forced into reality. They have to be brought. The leadership in Taiwan has to be brought into reality, and the understanding that there really isn't anything they can do. And maybe they could maybe if they want independence, maybe they can make a bid to China for independence, in terms of oh, okay, we will no longer allow America's American bases or American military support into our country. We will remove a lot of our we'll remove a lot of our missiles, our armed forces, we'll demilitarize to some respect, and we promise that we will always be neutral between America and China or something. Maybe they could do something like that for a bid for independence. I don't know if China would trust it. I don't know if I would trust it, to be honest. But yeah, I don't know. There you go, people. There's a nice little I don't know to end that segment on. I hope you learned a lot. Let's see. Let's go to this one. So okay, here we go, people. So America, despite being bogged down in endless, unending wars around the world, constantly 24/7, including currently Iran, is still somehow considering going to war with yet another country. Yet another country. At this point, I kind of see Iran as just the dude that's just putting their body on the line, I don't know, like fucking Spider-Man in that scene in New York where he stops the subway train, where the subway train is like America, like trying to like bash through and like beat the shit out of every country that they can, whereas like Iran is like that Spider-Man who's just like trying to stop it. Like that's kind of what it feels like at this point. Because yeah, America, I got news for you. America is ready to go to war with Cuba, people. A country that is 90 miles off our coast, which obviously I'm not a fan of. I do not want us to go into even more wars, spend even more of my tax dollars. I kind of hope that Iran is able to just keep America preoccupied indefinitely in the Middle East, or at least for a while in the Middle East, so that America is so humiliated and defeated that it doesn't continue its wars of pedo aggression across the region or across the world. But yeah, America, it sounds like, is planning to go to war with Cuba next. Cuba. So this video is from MS Now. It's about it says Cuba acquires drones to possibly use on U.S. And that's the thing that you got to understand is Cuba is not the Middle East, right? Cuba isn't way over there. Like there is a legitimate chance that if America goes to war with an island country that is like I think 90 miles off the coast of Florida, there is a legitimate chance that Cuba could hit America with drones, right? That Cuba could, or missiles. I don't know if they have that much missile capability, to be honest. But if they buy some drones, like there is a chance that, like, you know, Disney World or some shit could get hit by a drone. Like, so like if there's any, you know, I know Americans are very selfish, and because we don't ever see the impacts of our militarism over in the Middle East, I'm trying to make you guys understand that like this isn't the same thing as our usual militarism. If we're going to war with a country that's like so close to us, there is an actual chance that they could, you know, attack the home front. So just letting people know. Anyway, let's watch this video.
New report, as Sam has just suggested, from Axios reveals that Cuba has acquired more than 300 military drones and could be preparing to use them against the United States. White House reporter Mark Caputo cites classified intelligence shared with Axios, detailing how Cuba has started discussing plans to possibly use the drones to attack the U.S. base at Guantanamo Bay, U.S. military vessels, and Key West in Florida, which sits just 90 miles north of Havana.
90 miles.
Mark joins us now. Great reporting, Mark. We know that John Ratcliffe was down in Cuba, the director of the CIA, just last week. Is this part of the reason that he was down there, to say to the Cubans, don't even try this? Because clearly the Cubans, as is every other small country.
Okay, here's the problem, though. The Cuba has seen what capitulation looks like at this point to America, and it's not good. You can't capitulate to America, or else they will, you know, just destroy you. They will see. And so I think that their best bet, honestly, is to, you know, just continue resisting as much as possible. The bright side, again, I try to always look for some sort of bright side, is that if America does decide to attack Cuba, the inevitable consequence is going to be a unification amongst the Cuban people. Even the people who are, you know, who, in my opinion, wrongfully believe that the communist government is the reason for all of their problems. They will be forced to realize that, okay, America is not in any way, shape, or form going to protect us, and so or like going to try to help us, you know. So I think that there's an aspect of this that could look a little bit like Iran with a rallying around the flag effect. The obvious bad part is that Cuba does not have the same military capabilities that Iran does. I don't know if Cuba has a very big missile stockpile. I don't really think so. Let's see if we can learn real quick. Does Cuba have missile systems? I don't care about nuclear missiles. Okay. all of these articles are talking about nuclear missiles. I want to know if they have like ballistic missiles. As far as I know, I haven't heard much about that. If they have any, I guarantee you they're not going to be in underground mountain facilities like Iran. Cuba doesn't have the luxury of Iran's geography, which is a huge part of why Iran is able to resist so effectively against America's aggression. So Cuba, unfortunately, I don't think would have the same level of deterrence, and also doesn't have any sort of like, choke point like the Strait of Hormuz to like to impact like America in a meaningful way. So I don't really see a great way that Cuba can in any way stop like America from the worst aspects of imperialism. However, I do think that if they can resist and hold out long enough, America will be forced to retreat eventually. Similar to like Vietnam and stuff, where Vietnam, I don't think had huge capabilities really in terms of their level of warfare. It was very guerrilla, like their technology wasn't the best, but they were able to just resist long enough. And perhaps Cuba could too, if we go into a full sort of, but again, with Trump's ability, or with Trump's lack of wanting to ever make any, lack of desire to have any sort of ground troops or anything like deaths, like military deaths. I don't know if they would do anything other than airstrikes. At that point, it would then just be, trying to survive airstrikes. And like I said before, no regime has ever been changed through airstrikes alone. So they would have to do some sort of boots on the ground situation if they wanted to actually do regime change. I guess what I'm saying is America would be a lot more like capable of achieving its military goals probably when it comes to Cuba than when it came to Iran. Iran was like a fantasy. They were living in a fantasy when they thought that they could do regime change there. Cuba, they potentially could. It would involve some troops on the ground, but I think that they would probably be able to.
For the CIA just last week, is this part of the reason that he was down there, to say to the Cubans, don't even try this? Because clearly the Cubans, as is every other small country in the world, is studying asymmetric warfare at the moment.
Yeah, my understanding, the answer to that is yes. One of the sources we spoke to for this story said that this was specifically raised by Ratcliffe when he met with his Cuban counterparts down in Havana. It was also sort of a show of force for him to go down there. There's two ways to look at why the United States is coming out with this information now. And notably, Cuba is not denying it has the drones. It's just denying it would use them in an offensive way. It's saying it would only react to an aggression that is suggesting they would use them defensively. As the United States either wants to put more pressure on the regime in Havana to come up with a deal and tell them, hey, we know what you have here, and so let's make a deal. Or B, this could be a pretext for war, for an invasion, as Sam had just mentioned.
Yeah.
What's pretty clear,
I think, is that second one. I think they're releasing this as a, a way to try to goad the public into thinking Cuba is some sort of actual threat against America. Trust me, Cuba is not going to use these drones unless America attacks them first, right? Like Cuba is not Cuba doesn't hate America in any way, shape, or form or whatever, except for what America obviously does to them. But I think that this is probably a leak to try to get people more scared of the possibility of Cuba attacking America. It's also probably to preempt the preemptive strike narrative, because I'm sure that whenever America inevitably decides to start bombing, little girl schools in Cuba, because they ran out of little girl schools to bomb in Iran, they need to find more little girl schools across the world to try to bomb. Whenever they start bombing them in Cuba, they're probably going to claim like it's a preemptive strike or whatever, because every single war of aggression that we have ever been in has been claimed like by a preemptive strike, which is why I think the entire concept is stupid and should be it should always be illegal under all circumstances, in my personal opinion. But But yeah, I'd say that those are probably the reasons that we're getting this information right now, if I had to guess.
There is that though there have been talks, the talks haven't been that fruitful, and the United States just keeps piling pressure on pressure on pressure on the regime in Havana. Not only did they happen to mention to us this report and this information about Cuba's national drone program and drone technology, on Wednesday there are
The other reason, by the way, that it's more likely that they could get regime change here is because the CIA already has a lot of operatives in Cuba. So if they did want to spark a rebellion or whatever, like that sort of thing, America and Israel tried to do that with the protests in Iran, but I think that they have a much stronger chance of doing it in Cuba just because of the huge CIA presence over there.
national drone program and drone technology. On Wednesday, there are plans to formally indict Raul Castro for the 1996 shootdown of two aid planes from a group called Brothers to the Rescue that are based in Miami. And then there are various sanctions that are being imposed.
Anytime it says from Miami, I'm like, no way. That was a CIA operation for sure. It may have been two Cuban expats or something that the CIA convinced to do something stupid, but I guarantee you there was CIA operations involved when it came to that plane shooting.
In an increasingly difficult way on Havana that are starting to penalize private companies, foreign companies, that are doing business there and taking more and more money out of the already broke country. They barely have any fuel. In some streets in Havana, the only lights that are now on are from trash fires that people are burning. It's a very difficult situation, and it looks like it's going to get worse.
Mark, this is David Ignatius in Washington. I want to ask you two things. Those of us who are old enough to remember 1962 think that the introduction of any kind of new offensive weapons into Cuba is potentially very dangerous. Cuban Missile Crisis stuff. So first question is whether you get the sense that it's being taken that seriously by the Trump administration. Second question, this talk about indicting Raul Castro obviously reminds us of Venezuela. And the essentially the kidnapping of the then Venezuelan President Maduro. Do you see that as being in the early stages of actually being planned?
As for the first part, the Cuban Missile Crisis comparison, these aren't nuclear weapons. The United States, the sources that we spoke to said that though this is a concern, and it's a concern that there are IRGC, Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps members from Iran who are in Havana, who do advise the regime that they're there.
That's a good strategy. You should get as much information from Iran on strategy of defending yourself against America's pedobillionaires as you possibly can, because it is like they have succeeded on a level that nobody thought possible. But they also prepared for this inevitable war that they saw coming. They've been preparing for it for 30 years, whereas Cuba, to some extent, I don't think was ever given the air to breathe and was never able to really, put all of their focus into, like I said, they also just don't have the geography, but put all of their focus into defending from America. So, yeah.
There, and they don't want them there with these drones, that it's just not as much of a threat, say, as having a nuclear weapon. As for the second part, the indictment of Castro.
Man, if only they still had a nuclear weapon, man, then America wouldn't be able to do this. It would be, God, the world would be such a safer place if all of these places just had nukes, man. I swear. I used to not feel this way, but now I'm really starting to feel this way because America just cannot stop attacking every country that does not have a nuclear umbrella. And they leave the fuck alone every country that does have a nuclear umbrella. It's crazy.
Does certainly have these echoes to the operation in Venezuela. The difference that I think people need to understand between Venezuela and Cuba from the United States perspective is that Cuba is much less of a sort of a cohesive nation where if you remove the dictator, you can have people you can do business there with. In this case, Castro is a de facto dictator. He sort of says yes and no to various ideas to move the nation forward, but it's ruled sort of by a Politburo, and there are just not people there who want to make a deal with the United States. They've been in a Cold War with the U.S. since 1959, and so far there are no indications.
Whose fucking fault is that? Whose fault is that? Cuba doesn't want to be in a Cold War with America still. America is just holding on to a fucking grudge, man. It is pathetic. It is loser shit. It's holding on to a grudge from 1957 or whenever it was, the Cuban Revolution. And now they just all they ever want to do is just finally destabilize this communist regime. I feel like they feel like if they can just if we just take out this one regime, then the ideology of communism will be dead and gone forever or whatever. It's like, what the fuck are you talking about? That's the stupidest understanding of this stuff. I don't know, man. It's pathetic how America acts. I don't know. It gets me real mad sometimes.
That they're going to move forward. Now, there are plans, obviously, to invade Cuba. There are plans not to invade Cuba. This is what the Pentagon does. And Trump hasn't made that decision. I'm being told, at least in the short term, that until the situation resolves,
Well, judging by how much Donald Trump talks about Venezuela every fucking chance he gets, I'm going to guess that he's going to try to do another, one of those operations. My only hope is that the Cuban people, take a few casualties, and when we do our war of choice against the Castro regime or whatever, because I don't want Donald Trump to feel like he has the impunity to just go in and kidnap any foreign dignitary that he fucking feels if they look at him wrong or something, we need to stop this shit. Whoops.
Iran gets resolved, we're not going to see action in Cuba. But I ask, well, what does that mean, the situation in Iran get resolved, and what's the timeline? There's no answer for that. And, it's Trump. Tomorrow he could suddenly decide, hey, let's invade Cuba, and it's going to happen. Or he could decide.
Iran is like the Spider-Man, man. I swear, he's stopping America's the subway train full of America's pedo billionaires going from marauding from country to country, just trying to kidnap leaders. That's Iran is doing God's work over there, man.
Not to do anything, and therefore it won't.
It's Trump, which seems to be the kind of motto of this second administration. The new report's available online now at Axios. White House reporter for Axios, Mark Caputo, thank you so much for joining us.
Okay, well, there you go, people. It looks like Cuba's next. I'm guessing they're going to try to do a Venezuela-style operation, if I had to guess. I also, we'll see what the response is from Cuba. I just don't think that they have the capabilities to really be able to defend against this in the same way that Iran does. My only hope is that the revolutionary spirit that sparked the Cuban Revolution gets reignited, and the people of Cuba, stay strong and resist if you can. I mean, I know it's tough, but I hope that, capitulation doesn't get you anything. So. Okay, let's see here. Let's move on. Okay, we're going to domestic stuff now. So let's all try to see what's going on here. I guess there's I rededicate 250 event. I don't know what this is. Honestly, I have no idea what this is. Event on the National Mall. I guess there's something going on though, I guess, with religion, maybe he prayed there, a nation of prayer. So it says, JD Vance, we have always been and still are a nation of prayer. Just not only one certain type of prayer. Only one certain type of prayer. White corn-fed Christian prayer is the only type of prayer. Also, white no black resistance prayer, no Islamic prayer, no Jewish prayer. Those are all nah. Only white evangelical Christian prayer. It's kind of the vibe that I've been getting. So, oh yeah, that's true. But yeah, so let's go ahead and start this video.
To acknowledge the providence of Almighty God, to obey his will, to be grateful for his benefits, and humbly to implore his protection and favor. These were the opening lines of America's first ever Thanksgiving proclamation. But whatever milestone it represented in the brief life of our young republic, the duty Washington described to honor, obey, and give thanks to our Creator was.
Did they give him like a Yassify filter or something? Or not Yassify, but like his face is looking a lot thinner now than it usually does. Maybe I just don't see him from this angle that often, but maybe he's on a diet or something. Maybe he when he was in Beijing, like they force fed him some vegetables. I don't know. But he's not looking too bad in this particular angle. Usually he looks a lot like a lot dorkier and a lot chubbier, to be honest, like his face
was woven into America's character long before the founding. A keen awareness of that duty has stretched all the way back from William Bradford's own Pilgrim Proclamation in 1623 to the opening prayer of our First Continental Congress to Lincoln's.
This is just, I thought this was going to be coverage or whatever. This is a whole JD Vance segment. One second. Let me see if I can get an actual video of like coverage of this event. Because I was expecting this to be like something else. One second. What is it? I think there was another Fox video that I had considered picking. And now I'm wishing I had. Okay. Here we go. This one will be better. This one will be better, people. Because I'm looking for unhinged shit. I mean, as much as JD Vance, you know, he was looking pretty assified in that video. I don't think it wasn't quite what I was looking for. So let's watch this one. Because this one seems like it's going to be a lot more fun. Oh, wait, this is Martin Luther King Jr.'s niece. So, okay. It's time for America to choose God, repent, and get along, according to Alveda King. This is from that same Rededicate 250 event that we were kind of briefly looking at with that JD Vance thing. So yeah, let's go ahead and see what this is about, and maybe I'll have some opinions.
On this day of rededication, as one blood and one human race, we ask you to return us to the faith of our fathers and mothers. Teach us to pray again, to sing again, and to walk again in faith, hope, and love. And may the gospel of Jesus Christ call this nation to be what you have always intended it to be. A land where justice rolls down like waters and righteousness like a mighty stream.
That's the niece of.
I mean, I don't. I mean, I guess it was a fine prayer. I guess I don't know. I don't know if they're supposed to be doing this though. If this is a government-sponsored event, just from a constitutional perspective. But I know that we've kind of blown right past that. So,
of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., Alveda King. Delivering remarks at today's Rededicate 250 event.
Also, that's the kind of prayer that's not allowed, by the way. Black resistance prayer is not allowed, I think, according to a lot of these people. The only type is the white evangelical or white Christian Zionist prayers. Those are the only two allowed types of prayers.
He was quoting a Bible passage by the prophet Amos that her uncle used in a speech at the famous 1963 March on Washington. Alveda King joins us now live from the celebration. How's it going? Tell us about the celebration there today.
The water stopped rising.
Well, two things occur to me simultaneously. I'm so grateful to President Trump for inviting us to rededicate America to God. That's amazing. This nation was founded on godly principles.
So it says Trump-backed prayer festival. I don't know if this Alveda King, if she's a Trumper type person. I would say if she is, that's very sad. Like, that's just very sad. If her uncle is Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. like that, I would, you know, I think he would maybe have something to say, but I'm not gonna get all up on her. I am curious about this Dedicate 250 thing, or Rededicate 250. It sounds like it's like Trump backed so I guess it's like Trump funded, but maybe it's not like, I don't know. These types of things are always, by the way, a little bit corny in my opinion. But I'm not gonna like harp on them too much. The only concern I really have about it is if it's being funded by the government. That's the only thing that I would say is like a little bit, I don't like to get on people too hard about their religious proclivities, even though I find some of it to be very cringe.
I'm so grateful to President Trump for inviting us to rededicate America to God. That's amazing. This nation was founded on godly principles.
I did see a funny article titled "Trump snubs his big faith event to go golfing." So apparently Trump wasn't ready to rededicate himself to God. Just he wants the country to rededicate themselves to God.
And my uncle, Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., the prophet, the brother of my daddy, preacher Reverend A.D. King, and granddaddy Daddy King, spoke to a crowd like this in 1963. So you talk about deja vu.
A crowd like this. Am I wrong? That's like, I don't see like a single black person back there. Maybe there's one. I think there's one right here. I think that he spoke to primarily a different crowd, a different type of Christian. Like I said, like a black resistance Christian, which is like like I always tell people, like Christianity is like value neutral. You can use it for good or you can use it for evil. I think like resistance prayer, like black resistance and their affiliation with the church and stuff is like an amazing amazing utilization of Christianity as a form of resistance or whatever. It reminds me a lot of our Muslim brothers and sisters in Palestine who use religion as a resistance tool, a way to resist their colonial occupiers, right? And so that's why I say, like, I don't necessarily have a problem with religion inherently. However, I do have a problem with American white nativist Christians who use Christianity as a tool to further white supremacy. Like, it's just like American Christianity is so divorced from like the origins of the faith at this point that it's its entirely own thing, and it's not even like a real worshiping of God, in my opinion. It's more of like a vehicle for white supremacist politics, to be honest. That's how I see it a lot. And I'm just saying, just judging by the amount of white people, the lack of melanin that I'm seeing in that background, I kind of feel like this is a different form of Christianity than the one that her uncle may have been preaching. But that's just my own personal opinion.
Absolutely amazing. So much praise music, so many prayers. It's just amazing, and I'm so grateful to be here.
I think when you look around, especially the South, that America has made great strides in terms of racial justice since 1963 and since your uncle was working.
Two strides forward, one stride back is how I would probably describe it. I don't know if we're still making great strides. I think we're kind of undoing all of her uncle's legacy right now. I think Fox News in particular has played a very important role in undoing and unwinding all of civil rights and using a lot of the legislation that was passed in the civil rights era, using a lot of that to actually unwind and disparage black people now. Like a lot of the racists now use like anti-racist language to be like, oh, they're actually racist against white people, and then using that and pushing up those arguments to the Supreme Court in order to take away power from black people, which is obviously happening at unprecedented rate right now. So I would say we're doing a classic 2 steps forward, 1 step back situation right now.
So hard to change the minds of Americans. But if he were here today and if he looked around, what would Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. say about our life, our religious life?
My uncle would remind us, red and yellow, black and white, all are precious in God's sight. Acts 17:26, we are one blood, and we really can learn to live together as brothers and sisters and not perish together as fools.
That's a good statement. I mean, that's true. I like that. I like that. I think that I would have, I would probably emphasize a lot of Martin Luther King's later works and his as he began to understand the inherent the inherent racism of the I would say I think he was starting to understand the inherent racism of the capitalist system, the inevitability of racism under capitalism, and that we need to maybe move beyond that. And I think his anti-imperialist stuff near the end of his life, I think was really rad. I would have maybe tried to bring a little bit of that into it, but you know what? It's still a decent quote that I'm sure won't be completely misinterpreted by a bunch of white supremacists to say, oh yeah, we should actually all be colorblind, and it's actually racist to even acknowledge that people are black, and that we should make sure that nobody is hired based purely on the color of their skin, so we need to get rid of all the DEI programs. I'm sure nobody's going to interpret it that way.
So about 2/3 of the country identifies as Christian. The president has obviously made this Rededicate 250 celebration a big part of the 250th anniversary celebration of this country. But there are a lot of people who say, hey, you've got to have a strong...
I'm going to be honest. I wouldn't want to celebrate America's 250th birthday any other way. As we, as we enter into our century of humiliation, I'm going to go ahead and say that I think Donald Trump is the perfect crystallization of American politics. A TV personality with no governing capabilities whatsoever, who bullshits his way to the top somehow, and then just is the purest realization of America's systematic racial inequities and racial oppression, right? Like he is the perfect embodiment of the subliminal, ever-present white nationalism that exists within our country. And so I think that America's 250th, as we enter into our century of humiliation, I wouldn't have it any other way. I'm just kidding. I would have it a very different way, but it is very fitting. It is very poetic. I think that we have this, fascist, white supremacist as the leader, as he leads us into our century of humiliation. I'm hoping and praying, praying, hey, that our 350th, that when we get to America 350, we can maybe exit our century of humiliation and, become a better, greater society. That's what I hope. And maybe we will. Maybe we will.
Wall.
I won't get to see it, unfortunately.
Erected
but whatever.
Between church and state. What do you say?
Sorry, I interrupted this guy's question. Let's go back a little bit. Let's watch his question.
Who say, hey, you've got to have a strong wall erected between church and state. What do you say?
Absolutely not. It's never a good idea to try to leave God out of anything. I was riding over here in a car that was driven by a Muslim. And I said, Abraham had 8 sons, And I said, the first Ishmael, and that gave you what you call God Allah. I said Isaac, and that's God Almighty for us and all your other brothers and sisters. However, John 3:16 is absolutely for everybody. And so I believe religious freedom, and I support that. You can have whatever religion you want, and you can also choose not to have one. But for me and my house, we do serve the Lord, and Jesus Christ is my Lord.
Yep.
Bad answer. The problem with people who that's not how it's going to. That's not how it's going to be utilized. If they're going to have faith events or whatever, or Christian, stuff in the classrooms or whatever, they're never going to. They're never going to do the same for Muslims, right? If Muslims wanted to put a Quran in every classroom or whatever. Like Americans would not allow that to happen. Like the only direction that this goes, like putting Christian stuff into government, like into the government apparatus, is more, in my opinion, is going to be more white nationalist Christian like fervor that turns towards like fascism, religious zealotry, like all of that sort of stuff. Like I think that if we allow this sort of stuff too heavily into the public domain, we're going to like the whole idea of a democratic secular society is going to be like it's going to be the end of the road. Like I think that I just don't think it'll benefit anybody to incorporate this stuff into public office or public institutions or whatever. That's my opinion.
There were, among the founding fathers, virtually every one of them was a God-fearing religious man.
Yeah, and none of them would have thought any of the modern era of Christians were following God at all. Do you think that the founding fathers, if they found out about like TikTok Christianity and like rapture talk and shit, do you think that they would have been like, oh yeah, this is definitely real Christianity? Or do you think they would have said, no, this is blasphemy, these are all heathens, everybody in this country are now heathens? Like what do you think they would have said? I'm telling you, they would not think that the modern version of Christianity is like anything other than blasphemous. Like I'm just letting you know. Like right. Not all Christians, by the way. There's certainly some that like still go to church and pray and stuff and like believe the the basic good principles of the Bible or whatever. But I would say the vast majority of people use it as a vehicle for white nationalism, and in that regard would be viewed somewhat blasphemously as well. But I think more generally speaking, though, is the television style, like the television style of American Christianity, like the evangelicals or whatever, the mega churches. Dear God, if you took like our founding fathers to a mega church and told them this is what Christianity is, I think they would have a fucking heart attack. Like I don't know. All of this is to say that religion is something that kind of changes over time, but and I don't know. I think that these people they're only pushing this because they see the political power and the political usefulness of embedding Christianity inside of our institutions. That's what I would say.
Right.
And
well, you know what they said? You listen, they said, we believe in God, we kind of believe all that, but the law lets us have slaves. But if there's a God in heaven, we're going to be in trouble. They knew that. They knew we were all one blood and one human race all the way back then. So now it's time for us all to...
They use Christianity a lot to justify slavery. I'm just saying. That's why I'm saying it can be used for bad or for good. It can be both used by the slaver to justify their enslavement of other people. Like I talk about how Christopher Columbus went and talked to the Pope or whatever, who essentially gave him permission to wipe out the natives and genocide the Native Americans. But like there's plenty of examples of that. And so it can both be used to justify slavery, but also it can be used as a tool of resistance against slavery, which it was in the South. So
repent, to go to God and say, we got it wrong, help us get it right, and begin to see each other as the human family, as the one blood family. Our founding fathers knew that anyway, and they chose convenience. Now it's time for America to choose God. Repent, get together, get along.
Yeah, and would you agree that the racial division that nearly tore this country apart back in the 60s, have a lot of those wounds been healed?
A lot of those wounds are being healed constantly because we are realizing that racism was systemically created. There's only one blood and one human race. And so we begin to see each other as human beings. COVID tried to trick us again where we couldn't look at each other, couldn't see each other, had masks all over our face.
Okay, I think I'm getting the vibe here. Okay, I think that this is a classic COVID broke my brain type of woman. So she might be like, I don't know if she's MAGA now or not or whatever, but she's probably in that like Maha sort of like like anti-vax pipeline if I had to guess.
Don't be colorblind, celebrate ethnicity, but be a human being so we can repent and love each other and ask God to help us work this thing out.
Love your.
I would say that the wounds, the racial wounds of our country, they would heal a lot better if there wasn't constant, unending racist propaganda being pumped into the veins of Americans 24/7 by Fox News in particular. Like, that's what I would probably say. But okay, well, that was a kind of interesting one. Alveda King seems like an interesting person. I would have to, I don't know anything about her politics. I don't, she is giving me the vibe of like a COVID broke my brain kind of conservative person. So, maybe that. Some of the stuff she said was good. Some of the stuff I wish she would have said different things, particularly when it comes to her uncle, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. I think that, you know, she could have brought up more impactful and important things in this current, the current era that we're living through. Let me go ahead and bring back up the playlist. I can't remember if I had anything else on the playlist. Whoops. Okay. Oh yeah. Let's go ahead and watch that video now. Okay, so we're gonna move on to South Korea. I don't think I've ever really talked about the current situation in South Korea, but for those, I guess, unaware, I have a high level understanding of what's going on. Like, I know that they have classic advanced developed nation problems of like their birth rates are going down, and their I know that there's a huge gap between men and women in terms of like men, like politically, like where men are very reactionary right wing, and women are much more like liberal, like we can provide for ourselves, we don't need, you're not going to just like, you have to earn the woman as opposed to a woman just being like a de facto given to you based on the societal structures or whatever. Like, so there's a lot of like that sort of attitudes going on as well. But so we're going to, and also, by the way, if a lot of that sounds familiar to, what we're starting to live through as well, yeah, it is. And that's exactly why I wanted to cover it. So let's go ahead and watch, because I think in some ways, South Korea is kind of is kind of what our future is going to look like a lot. I don't think we're quite there yet, but I think it's kind of like what our future is going to look like. So let's go ahead and watch this video. This is from France 24 English. This is Loneliness, South Korea's Silent Epidemic. Let's go.
The number of Seoul residents who live alone is on the rise. Now, one household in every two has a single occupant, and well over half of that group say they experience feelings of loneliness. Many spend long periods seeking companionship online. Man Lee is one of the rising stars of mukbang.
Today I'm going to eat 5 packs of ramyun.
It's a hugely popular format in South Korea, where YouTubers cook and then devour enormous meals while interacting with viewers. Man Lee started making mukbang content because she felt lonely while eating.
I love food and I have a big appetite, so I thought, why not me? And I realized that the mukbang videos I make help others cope with their loneliness and give them the feeling of sharing a meal.
Dude, if I did mukbangs, man, it'd be game over. I'm pretty lean right now. But like there was a time when I was I was dirty bulking. I didn't track or anything, but I got up to like 180. But like if I was doing these types of things constantly, like I feel like I would inevitably be in a perma bulk situation, which I'm pretty happy with where I am right now. I don't know how these ladies though, they stay so thin. I don't know how often they do these things. I pig out like maybe like I'd say like once a week. So if they only do it once a week, then I could probably survive. But yeah, also, yeah, I feel like this, this might be like a stereotype or something, but I feel like I've seen like the skinny girl who like eats a ton is like a pretty common occurrence when it comes to mukbangs. Is that wrong? I feel like it's usually like when it comes to girls who do mukbangs, I think it tends to be like really skinny girls from what I've seen.
I get a lot of comments like that, and it makes me very proud.
By the way, I don't watch any mukbang content. It's I don't really understand it. I don't really understand why people. I mean, I don't know, unless I'm like trying to get hungry or look for like a place to eat or something, like I'm looking for a place to eat online, or like maybe if I'm going on vacation somewhere and I'm looking for places to eat, those are the only times that I ever watch other people eat food. Otherwise, I'm like, why would I do that? Like, I would rather just eat food myself.
Together. Ko Yong-ho lives alone in an apartment.
Oh, I completely forgot. We're not talking about mukbangs. We're talking about loneliness. So, okay, let's get back on track, people.
Last 3 months, the 63-year-old, who's unemployed, has been spending his afternoons at a so-called mine convenience store in the hope of overcoming his loneliness. This novel space, developed by the city authorities, enables people to mix casually. A rarity in South Korea, where
aka a third space. The third spaces are important, I think. And this is like a government mandated third space, but like it seems like eventually America might need government mandated third spaces in order to get people to like leave their rooms and like go outside or whatever, because it is something that we have lost just naturally. For those unaware, like a third space is, there's the home, there's your work, and then a third space is any other place that you would, interact with, hang out with people. It could be, the gym, it could be bars, it could be like wherever, right? Or just like, or if it's not like going out, like it could just be, like a local community event, like things of that nature, or like just a local, like a local, like community space, like that sort of thing. But yeah, this feels like a government mandated one. And as America gets less and less of these around their communities, I think that maybe one day we'll have government mandated third spaces as well.
Social interactions are often formal.
I feel good since I started coming here regularly. It's better than going home and reading alone. Here, I can spend all my time with other people and listen to their stories. I really like it. It's simple. It feels like chatting with neighbors.
And specifically, I think third spaces are supposed to be not things that you're paying for. I can't remember if that's a part of it or whatever, but it's like, if the moment that you're like, for instance, I see a lot of old people hanging out at like Breadco or whatever. Or like I used to back whenever I went to Breadco more, or sorry, you guys would call it Panera. Or like if you don't live in St. Louis, you would call it Panera. But yeah, where they, and which is essentially like a coffee shop style situation where you like where you just buy a coffee and you get free refills and then you can just hang out and talk all day or whatever. Which is like kind of an option, but I think third spaces are typically supposed to be like you're not really paying for things. You're just going there to hang out, like a community center or something.
Like talking to grandparents in the community. But you have fewer wrinkles than I do.
Oh no, I'm getting older.
4 of these spaces have opened in Seoul since March last year. The city expected 5,000 visits in the first few months. Instead, people have visited almost 60,000 times. Another 21 centres are due to open by 2027 to cope with demand.
This is a physical space designed for people who have gone beyond loneliness and can be considered socially isolated. Here, they can interact with other people. The proportion of people who feel lonely is particularly high in Seoul. And studies show that it affects middle-aged and young people most of all.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of that is, like I said, the destruction of third spaces is kind of like a I do end up relating a lot of things back to capitalism, but it is like the isolating nature of capitalism is to prevent communal organizing, right? Like it's a necessary part of capitalism to propagandize against communal organizing. So a lot of times these types of spaces are targeted in a sense by the, like I'm not saying like it's all explicit. Like I'm not saying like these billionaires or millionaires or whatever are intentionally going around to towns and being like, oh, I see that community space, I'm going to find a way to buy it and then I'm going to destroy it, like it because I hate because I don't like any communal organizing. It's just like it's more of like a like just undercurrent, like subliminal part of society where people where these things are just like systematically taken over for profits, and then it ends up inevitably removing these options for people to, like, it's like, why have a place where you're not making money where you could be making money? Like that's like the underlying ideology of capitalism. So yeah, I wonder if they'll talk any more about like the online stuff, like with the youth in Korea. Like I know that they have a very, like, I think a very heavy NEET sort of situation where not, I forgot, it's the Japanese term for like not in engineering something technology, I can't remember, but it's really just a stand-in for like people who just are loners who stay in their room all day playing video games or whatever. And I think Korea has a similar sort of situation, so I'm kind of hoping they talk about that a little.
Seoul's government is treating loneliness as a risk to public health. It's announced funding of nearly 280 million euros over 5 years to combat isolation. The measures include a hotline.
선생님, 그러면 오늘은 뭐 어떤 계획이 있으세요?
Isolated people can call the hotline anytime for advice or just a friendly chat. Counsellors use the calls to identify the most vulnerable people and help bring them out of their isolation.
There are far more people than I expected who have no one to confide in. I think we play that role, helping to combat loneliness.
There's also a political crisis, though, with men and women as well in Korea, where I think I talked about briefly at the beginning, but men are becoming incredibly, like, even more reactionary, like right-wing, sort of like, as society does not really provide for them the same benefits that may have been provided for them in the past. They're getting bitter and angry, which then turns them into more reactionary, more conservative. And then the women are like generally able to provide for themselves to some extent now, and so they're you're not just when women don't necessarily need a man in order to exist in modern society, it inevitably like leads to more women being like, well, I'm gonna up my standards. I'm not going to just take any man that, like, any schlub off the street. I want a man who's able to provide like something other than something other than just the bare minimum of just like existence or whatever, and so there's that aspect which is increasing their loneliness. There's also like the birth rate issue in South Korea is pretty bad. Or I mean, I'm using the terms of the system that we live under, but like when they say it's like bad that we have birth rate or birth rate collapse or whatever, it's because they're not able to produce enough little worker bees to go fill all the capitalist enterprises in order to send as much profits as possible to the top. So like there's that aspect as well in Korean society. And in my particular opinion, I think that a lot of this is kind of the direction that America is heading. We're starting to see a lot of the things with like the politics of men and women diverging pretty critically. I can maybe find something on that real quick. American politics by party or political affiliation. That's probably it. By gender. Let's see, this is from 2024. I wonder if there's a chart that I can find. Um, yeah. Well, okay. Here's one chart where you see like women are becoming more liberal when it comes to 18 to 29. So that's kind of that sort of future situation. Here's one of you know, men becoming more right wing, whereas women are, it seems like largely the same on this particular graph. This is only to 2023, though. I think recently there's been a pretty big shift potentially. You see, oh, here's a great example. Here, let's look at this one. Oh, whoops! I need to go back to browser. Sorry, I'm still, I'm still new to this whole streaming business. So, but you see, like, here's like the ideology gap between men and women in the U.S. over time, and then here's the South Korean one, and so like this, I think though, what you're seeing right now is going to be very similar to what we'll probably experience in the future. But okay, let me keep yeah, and also the demographics, like birth rate collapse, that sort of stuff is going to be a lot of like the like I don't really care that much about any of that, but it is like if we start going to net zero migration, like Trump has said that we are or whatever, without migration, then there is inevitability to like birth rate collapse. You need immigration in order to facilitate, if you want to, as an advanced like society or whatever, a country, industrialized nation or whatever, and an advanced one like at that, it's impossible to maintain birth rates without a steady flow of migrants. So I think we're also going to see a lot of that sort of stuff in the future. So anyway, that's kind of like the main reason that I wanted to talk about this particular issue in South Korea.
More than 1,000 solitary deaths occur each year in Seoul. And in many cases, they are preceded by loneliness, isolation, and withdrawal.
Cases of solitary deaths, or godoksa in Korean, have reached about 3,000 a year nationwide. As South Korean society ages, the number of people at risk of becoming isolated continues to rise.
First of all, we're witnessing a cultural shift in people's values and attitudes, from a system where people prioritized family to one marked by stronger individualism. Secondly,
that's capitalism, baby.
Family structures have changed. 30 years ago, most elderly people lived with their adult children, but today many live alone.
Young people in this high-tech country are finding new ways to meet. Some are part of the booming interest in children's games, with groups of enthusiasts meeting up via messaging apps and online resale marketplaces. It's 6:30 p.m. and around 50 young people have gathered near the Han River. They're about to play Red Light, Green Light, a game made famous by the hit TV series Squid Game.
I think it was already pretty famous, right? I remember playing that when I was a child.
A few hours just spent hanging out by the river.
I thought it looked like a lot of fun. We're both from the provinces and came to Seoul to study.
We always see the same people at work, so it's hard for me to meet people my age. That's why I organize these gatherings.
The events are a fun way to bring people together and address a serious problem. At a time when more than 5% of young South Korean adults are considered socially isolated.
Yeah, well, we got to get our shit together. If we don't get our shit together, then yeah, this is our future. But yeah, okay. Let's go ahead and move on now to let's see if I won't do any reading because my wife is doing some talking on her side and I don't want to interrupt her. But so I'm just going to go over to x.com and we'll scroll around a little, try and find some stuff to talk about, and then we'll get out of here. Okay, let's see. Okay, we got just out of curiosity, Hassan in Hassan wear or Hassan in a suit? Which do we prefer, people? I'm going to say that I like Hassanware better. Oof. Okay. I'm going to... What? Oh, okay. I guess I'm not allowed to comment on this one. I've talked about it before, but I liked the little fun outfits that Hassan used to wear. And so when in American suit culture, there's just not enough variety for my taste. So that's why I picked that one. But it seems like I'm in the minority on that opinion, which is fine. I don't know what this is. Was that an ad? Oh, that's an ad. That's why. The White House says the Democrats in media have totally lost their way. As Democrats. Oh, this is about Iran. It says, if Iran surrenders, admits their navy is gone and resting at the bottom of the sea, and their air force is no longer with us, and if their entire military walks out of Tehran, weapons dropped and hands held high, each shouting, I surrender, while wildly waving the representative white flag, and if their entire remaining leadership signs all necessary documents of surrender and admit their defeat to the great power and force of the magnificent USA, the failing New York Times, the China Street Journals, Wall Street Journal, corrupted now irrelevant CNN, and all other members of the fake news media, will headline that Iran had a masterful and brilliant victory over the United States of America. It wasn't even close. The Democrats and media have totally lost their way. They have gone absolutely crazy. President DJT, spoken like someone who definitely is winning a war, right, people? Yeah, I mean, that whole first part, that's never going to happen. That's obviously like a fantasy world, but he's just saying if that happened, then they would still say it's a failure. I disagree. In fact, I think the media was largely on Donald Trump's side when he decided to go into this war. And if they were succeeding, I think they would have been going rah rah America, hell yeah, we defeated Iran. This is the best thing that has ever happened, and they would be like singing Trump's praises. But the problem for him is that that's not what happened. So they have to report at least somewhat honestly occasionally. Anyway. Will Neff says, this is my new favorite thing. Apparently it's adult content, so... Oh. Animated.
Checking Twitter on my laptop because it's not on my phone while I'm on the pooper. Okay, come downstairs. Wait, you...
It's a cool animation style. I'm going to go back to the beginning because I didn't have the volume all the way up.
Okay, checking Twitter on my laptop because it's not on my phone while I'm on the pooper. Okay, come downstairs.
Wait, you have your laptop on your lap while you're taking
I have a desk
shit?
in front of my bathroom.
Shut the... You have a desk in front of your toilet?
Yeah. You haven't seen it? I'll show you when we go upstairs.
That's insane.
How did I miss that?
It's insane. Not like a desk. It's like a side table.
Did you see the setup that was in there? That was crazy.
How did I miss that?
It's a better streaming setup than my streaming setup. in the bathroom.
Like a desk. It's like a side table.
He's in all men there are two wolves. And I think you're letting the autistic one win.
That was pretty good. Great animation. I like that one. ContraPoint says she has a personal grudge against Hassan Piker because he accused her of genocide in a reply to a Reddit post. Okay, get the fuck over it. She's like, you accused me of genocide, so I'm going to support the genocide. It's like, okay, well, it sounds like you're not principled anti-genocide person then. Oh God, Elon Musk. I think I commented on that stupid ass book. Okay, Hassan says, without class consciousness and political education, the masses and the imperial core will continue to self-ID with the politics of liberalism, even if their desires for change go far beyond. Most communists/socialists in the U.S. went on their ideological journey because of Bernie's insurgent Democratic Socialist campaign in 2016. I will say that I went on my journey after the 2016 campaign, after Hillary lost, and I saw the failures in liberalism in real time, and I decided to I needed to understand the world better. I thought that it was a given that Hillary was going to win. Everybody in the media said that they were going to win, and then she didn't. And then I went on my political journey after that, as I realized I needed to expand my worldview and able to in order to be able to understand the world better. So, let's see. The electoral system is a viable route to reach the masses with an alternative. This is what the moneyed interests in both parties fear. This is why they spend it against their left flank and fight it tooth and nail. We must continue helping people awaken to the reality of this system's design that creates such inequality. It is not the migrant workers, nor trans people, or Muslims, or Jews, but the billionaires and the parasitic forces of capital and its servants that are responsible for the deteriorating material conditions. That is 100% true. We need class consciousness. We need to organize and get people, the masses, to understand who the enemies are. And electoralism is one vehicle, but it's not the only vehicle. And it's a tool to be used, like in terms of like electing people into power who are aligned with us. But organizing outside of electoralism is also important, and is going to be more and more necessary as times go on. Material conditions get worse, and people are looking for a place to put their revolutionary fervor. That's my personal opinion. Okay, what else we got? This one says, name a city more beautiful than New York, if there is one, that is. I like New York a lot. I like the vibe of New York. I wouldn't want to live there, but it is a very nice place. I like it. Okay, I know that they're attacking another flotilla. Man, I'm like, I was thinking this earlier. I was like, at this point, should these flotillas be like taking self-defense, right? Like, it is illegal for Israel to intercept their ship on international waters. They have every right in the world to do this. Once they get onto Palestinian territory or something, like, then I think Israel technically has a right to, under wartime or whatever, to do that. But but even so, it's like immoral and unjust. But like, if you're on international waters, I think that you do have a right to self-defense. Like, if these if these IOF soldiers come and try to board your fucking ship, like, I think you have a right to shoot at them. Like, I don't know. I think that they should maybe start carrying some self-defense personally. That's a funny sign. Elect a rapist, expect to be fucked. Yeah. This is the comparison between old country and new country. Says Johnny Cash, my wife is black and I will shoot a cop on principle. Modern country musicians. I'm so proud of living in a sundown town. I could suck off a Marine in my Ford truck. Yeah, there is a difference between modern country and old school country. Modern country really does just suck up to power, and they very much embrace the I don't know, they never have, there's never any country musicians nowadays that I feel like go and fight back, like have songs that are fighting back against like cops or police or or like being like pro union and that sort of shit. Like, none of them do that anymore. Okay, let's try to find a video I can react to or something. Oh, this is rad. I don't know when this was. Yeah, that's rad. Assuming it's not AI. I hate AI. That I can't trust anything I see anymore, but let's see. A 20-year-old, oh great, man. A 20-year-old Arkansas man was arrested after allegedly threatening to start a mass shooting at Walmart if the country shut down over hantavirus fears. My God. COVID literally destroyed the brains of our country, man. So many people just like went insane over COVID, and it's like I don't know if we're ever getting them back, man. They might just be lost, lost in the void of their conspiratorial thoughts at this point. Okay, come on, let's get a video that I can react to. Find me a video. What is this? Okay. A former Secretary of State Antony Blinken and his wife panic when confronted about killing a generation of children in Palestine while their own kids are present. Ooh, this will be good. Okay, let's watch this. I am all for bird dogging these ghouls, these demons like Antony Blinken, who's trying to like whitewash his culpability in the genocide of the Palestinians. I am all for this shit.
What a beautiful day.
It is indeed.
Isn't it? It's so amazing. Yeah. How does it feel to have the blood of 500,000 children on your hands?
Kids. Thank you.
No, I'm just being very...
Please.
Nah, who cares? I mean, I'm sorry, but they should know. His kids should know that he is a war criminal and should be locked up in The Hague forever. They should know.
Yeah, but what about the kids that he's bombed and maimed? I'm not harassing you. I'm just asking very calmly. You guys have been involved in the slaughter.
Please with the children.
Children? Like you care about children, or is it just your children?
Please.
Is it just your children, sir?
Yeah.
Yeah, the man doesn't make it any nicer.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like, that the kids have to hear this sort of stuff about their parents, but they're going to have to learn about it eventually. And one can only hope that these sorts of incidents might radicalize them into, having better opinions than their parents.
I feel sorry for your children. One day they'll grow up and read the news.
Excuse me. Please leave.
I'm not leaving. This is public.
Yeah, keep talking to them. I mean, make them uncomfortable enough that they leave. That's my opinion. That was cool. That was awesome. Yeah, keep it up. Don't let that guy ever go anywhere in public ever again without having to answer those questions. And if I ever see him in public, although I doubt he's ever going to come to, bumfuck St. Louis, but, if he ever does, I'll do my part too. I'll go out there and bird dog him. This is 4.5 minutes. Graham Plattner. I don't know if I need to watch that. And if they saw you from across the bar and really dug your vibe. Well, there you go. Caroline Kwan and Will Neff. I'd say Will Neff has a pretty decent bod. He's probably got about the same level of body fat as I do, if I had to guess. Like where you can kind of see the outlines of the six pack, but that last pack gets a little bit, a little bit lost in the sauce. But that's probably about where I am. Brianna Joy Gray. Okay. Do I have to do another one? I already talked about the 250 event 250 or whatever it was called, so I think I'm going to skip this Marco Rubio video. Looksmax.org says clavicular mogs the judge 100%, no question. This is the judge in his case of him shooting an alligator in Florida, by the way. No, he doesn't, man. This judge has like the bone structure of like a movie star. Like, this is insane. Well, I don't know what the odds are that clavicular, the Looksmaxer dude, like somehow got paired up with this guy who is like, I don't know. He straight up looks like a movie star. Hassan says coat maxing. I would agree with that assessment. What is this? A small act of defiance against Mamdani and NYC? What, like a bagel? I don't understand. Zoran derangement syndrome, says Jay Aubrey. Oh, I know Jay Aubrey. He makes content, right? Kristen Stewart being an icon. Oh my God. Only in America, people. Okay, I will say I probably shot my first gun around that time as well, but I was not dual wielding. I didn't learn dual wielding until much later in Halo. Halo 2. That was when I learned dual wielding. No, I mean, like, I think I was like maybe 10 or 11 when my one of my cousins let me shoot a gun with him. But I don't think that he would have let me do this though. This seems a little too dangerous. Whoa. Huge. Gavin Newsom introduced his plan to adopt universal preschool and free school meals in California. That's awesome. I hope he goes through with it. I don't trust him at all because he's a fucking lizard person, but I hope that he actually goes through with it. Men only. Would you date a girl who's more educated and has a higher degree than you? Of course. You know, if she'd have me. if I'm a big enough man for her. Yeah, I mean it's awesome. If you have a person who is you know, more successful than you, that's rad. Okay, come on, let's find a video. I want something, I want a video to react. Oh, okay, here's something. This is from Power to the People. It says, breaking, in a win for Luigi Mangione, the judge rules the cops conducted an illegal search and seizure violating Luigi's Fourth Amendment rights since they didn't have a search warrant. All items found in Luigi's backpack at the Pennsylvania McDonald's will not be allowed in trial. The judge is allowing the gun to be used at trial since cops claim they didn't find the gun until they got back to the police station. It seems a little sketch. It was in the backpack, wasn't it? Am I wrong? I don't know. This has always been, unless it was on him or something, this has always been the most suspicious part of the case because how did the cops miss the gun at McDonald's? The cops could have easily planted the gun in Luigi's backpack on their way to the station, which is what Luigi's lawyers should argue. Let's go ahead and watch this video. Let's see what's going on here in our daily dose of free Luigi segments.
We're all on the same page here. What is in and what is out?
Yeah, we have more clarification now on what is in and what is out. What is out, what the jury will not learn about, the bullet magazine. That's the magazine that full of bullets that Officer Christy Wasser found wrapped in wet underwear, because that was found in the backpack at McDonald's. The backpack was 9 feet away at another table, placed there by a police officer. Therefore, Judge Caro found that was not in the control of Mangione, and that was an illegal search because there was no search.
Yeah, it could have been planted. There could have been stuff planted in it. I agree with that.
Search warrant at that time for that backpack. The cell phone that he had, his passport, his wallet, and a computer chip that Christy Wasser, police officer Wasser, found at the McDonald's. She then takes the backpack an 11-minute or so ride to the police station. He's arrested. They start going through the backpack. She finds the gun.
Illegal search since they didn't have a search warrant. Yeah, they didn't have a search warrant for the backpack, I guess. So they had to, if they wanted to go through it, I think they would have had to wait until they got a judge's approval, if that's how that works. I'm not a law expert, so I don't know all of the details, but
she finds a diary. That will be allowed in. The red diary will be allowed in, and the weapon will be allowed in. The judge in his ruling points out that the diary was opened, that police officers, for inventory purposes, photographed every page of the diary as they took that in. So
I still don't understand how they don't still need a search warrant to go through it even after they've arrested him. Like, I thought that they would. Am I wrong? Like, I don't understand why some of the stuff is being allowed in but the other stuff isn't. Shouldn't they have had to wait for a search warrant for any of it? I don't know.
Obviously, the judge has ruled that that was a legal search at the police station, which include those items. So that's why we're basically saying, I think Jonathan Turley is right. It's kind of a half victory, half win. Something's out, but most importantly,
It depends whose perspective you're taking. I think when Fox News says it's a half win, I think they're saying because they got to keep the gun and notes or whatever, and they're like as a part of the trial. I would say that's the half lose portion of it. The half win is that they illegally searched his stuff and therefore they are not allowed to use it in court. Look, I've said it before. I do not condone adventurism. Okay, what Luigi did, I do not condone it, or may have done, allegedly has done. I do not condone it. However, I do understand it. And I don't like living in a fantasy world where we have to pretend that humans don't have human emotions and act on those human emotions, and that somehow like you can just keep oppressing people forever and they won't act out in vigilante ways in the future. I don't like pretending like that, because I don't know. It's one of those one of those things I don't understand in the world, is that we have to like pretend like the human condition isn't what it is, and that people don't reach a breaking point where they have to, where they feel like they have to violently resist in whatever way, shape, or form they can. Like, so yeah. Anyway,
kind of a half victory, half win. Something's out, but most importantly, it appears now that the diary will be allowed in, and the weapon, the 9mm gun that police say was used to kill Brian Thompson.
okay, well, there you go. The case should be, I think, a little bit easier now. The gun is probably still like, I don't know why. I don't know why they could use that still, but I would say, let's see. Power to the People says the cops could have easily planted the gun in Luigi's backpack on their way to the station. That is true. I don't know if this is normal chain of custody, but if they didn't have the warrant to, like, maybe they could take it with them, but they weren't. They shouldn't have been able to, in my opinion, open it or look inside of it until they had a search warrant for it. Okay, let's see. God, this is like Stargate level quality on their Photoshop here. I've been watching a lot of Stargate. So in Stargate, the little gray guys are like half the size of humans, though. They're a lot smaller. This guy is jacked. I didn't know, man, if aliens exist and they look like this, dear God, the amount of people who are going to be thirsting for, alien cock, or I don't even know if it looks like he's like he doesn't have anything down there. I don't know how these guys reproduce, but thirsting for alien, if they're this jacked, like everybody's gonna be, man. I'll be out there thirsting for the aliens. Trump to pay J6 insurrectionists $1.7 billion in taxpayer funds for attacking the Capitol. Oh my God, dude, that's crazy. They're taking my tax dollars to pay the people who attacked the building that my tax dollars paid for. This is wild. This is crazy. Adam Mogler says we live in a dystopian hellscape. We have been for a while, but yes, true. Okay, come on. Maybe one more good one and then I'm getting out of here, people. Let's see. The left sees center as far right now. Oh my God. They don't understand this. Okay. This is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Because here's the difference, right? Okay. This graph is it has my fellow liberal and then it has me. This is Elon Musk, I guess, or Moy Miz, I guess, was the original poster. Right here on the center left. Now, by the way, keep in mind, this is liberalism right here on the left that they're describing. This is liberalism. Okay. This is the dominant monoculture, by the way. This is what everybody in America generally believes, especially back in 2008. Sure, there were some socialists, anarchists, communists. They would have been, over here that whole time. But here's the problem. This spectrum always was over here. Like, look, they're saying that it's expanded. No, this was this. I mean, this is a little bit silly. The violent portion is silly, but this spectrum was, in terms of world politics and historical politics, was always over here. There were always like socialists, communists, anarchists. Like this whole spectrum extends way over here. The center is here. Okay. The center was always, or like, I guess according to here, it would be like right here. These people were always right wing. Liberalism in itself is a center right ideology. I've said before that I consider left ideology starting at anti-capitalism, whatever form that may take, be it state capitalism, like controlled by like government control over capitalist means of production, and then it just goes further and further to the left from there to socialism, communism, anarchism, all that sort of stuff. It's also not exactly linear once you get past that point on the left as well. A lot of these things are like interweaving. There's like radical, anti, or like there's radical like black politics. There's radical like anti-war, anti-imperialist politics that usually overarches over a lot of those different ideologies. But in general, that's how I would portray the right-left spectrum. So these people were always on the right. They were center-right. And as time has gone on, like they also are neglecting the fact that the right wing has moved significantly further to the right as well. But as time has gone on, many liberals have become more radical in reaction to the right becoming more radical, because basically the center of our political spectrum ever since the end of World War II has been steadily shifting to the right forever. Like, especially like if you consider Clinton, like neoliberalism, like that sort of stuff, which is essentially just Reagan politics, like the Reagan politics of yesteryear, except now the Democrats are doing like what used to be just standard Reagan politics. Like the spectrum has like, or like the right has been slowly moving further and further to the right, while the sorry, I got a little bit distracted there. But yeah, the spectrum is all fucked already. It's all incorrect. And these people are just using, this is just like classic like why I left the left bullshit. Like it's irrelevant, it's pointless, and who cares about this anymore? Is this type of like this bare bones, like oversimplified, pointless like argument about why you are now a Republican? Does anyone even care anymore? Man. And also, this is stupid as well. In general, the left is a lot slower to acts of violence than the right. However, I'm not going to say that there aren't actual like ideological left people who commit violence, but you know who else has been committing violence like crazy lately is the fucking shitlibs. Blue sky shitlibs have been like some of the most prominent like Trump assassins of the recent past. So like those people, by the way, according to my ideology, where I say the center, if we're looking at this spectrum and this is the center, reactionary like blue sky shitlibs are like right here. And so they are also like, even like centrist apolitical violence is on the rise. Like it's stupid to imagine it this way. But anyway, that was a long discussion on that one picture, but there you go. That's my opinion on that. Okay. Maybe something fun. It says the lunatic left celebrates murder. So does the lunatic right. So I mean, come on, let's not pretend like you guys don't celebrate murder as well. I don't even think that, I mean, I think people meme on Charlie Kirk to an extent, but that's just because it's fun. And he was also like a Klansman, so he was a Klansman in a button up, as I like to call him. Okay, what's this? Oh, he's talking about.
Holy shit.
Maybe we can end on this as a positive note. I have seen this clip already. But this is Hassan talking to his community about how he almost quit streaming. And I mean, I've talked about it before. I think Hassan operates in a like. I think that he is so important as an individual figure because there's not that many people who would make it as big as he is and not be completely and totally corrupted into maximizing profits and like I don't know, just abandoning his principles, right? And I feel like he is so stubbornly one track when it comes to his anti-capitalist, anti-imperialist message that it's like I do think he is a rare specimen. Not that I'm saying there aren't a bunch of like left people out there doing this, but someone who has been doing this for so long and has become so prominent and has still kept his ideology, forefront. Like I think that he is a very important part of de-radicalizing people and pushing their radical feelings, like channeling them into a productive direction. So let's go ahead and watch this, where he talks about how he was considering quitting after all of the backlash to him defending Palestinians after October 7th. And how I think this stream with Maya Higa, who recently did a TED Talk, by the way, from Alvea Sanctuary, how this really helped him get through it. So this will be a positive note to end on. Let's go.
Good. I still remember, okay, this is a little bit of personal information, but this was when I was like genuinely considering quitting streaming. And this was, I think, the first fun, non-Gaza related stream that we did post October 7. And I literally was like, I think I probably should just quit streaming. I should go back to college.
The problem here is that all of the worst people on the internet now are going to be like, God damn it. Like they're going to go after Maya now for stopping Hassan from not streaming, without realizing, by the way, that as soon as Hassan stops streaming, 90% of their content, which is all just fuck Hassan content, is all gone now. They would have to be scrambling to like find someone else like who can garner as many clicks to throw on their thumbnail every single day.
They just should, pursue a PhD. Maybe I'll become like a college professor or something. Because it was so much.
Can you imagine if your college professor was Hassan? That would be insane, dude. That would be crazy. I'd go back to college just to experience it.
Every fucking day.
Oh God, he would get thirsted after so hard too by all of his like probably female and male students, to be honest.
Because it was so much every fucking day, day in, day out. People were just like, "You're a fucking terrorist. You're a fucking terrorist. You're a terrorist. No allies. No one in the space. None of my Twitch streamer friends were." Or none of the content creators in the space wanted to touch the issue of Israel with a 10.
I think that if I was streaming back then, I would have. I mean, obviously, I'm not big enough to be on his radar or anything, but I would have been out there. I went to protests like right after October 7th. Like I knew I was ready for this eventuality, and I think that I would have tried to do my best to get people to, Although that would have been tough though during that time period, because the amount of like campaigns, like coordinated like op campaigns against anybody who is like just vaguely pro-Palestine was like crazy. So it would have been hard, but I think that I would have tried to do it. Like tried to advance the conversation in a positive direction.
Because they were so worried about being attacked. They saw the way that like mercilessly people were like ripping into me, calling me a fucking terrorist, even doing like unbelievable amounts of unrestrained Islamophobia. I mean, it's the same now too with mainstream media, but it doesn't fucking matter anymore because the public is on my side. It doesn't matter. But at that point, this is January 30th, 2024. There wasn't a lot of people who were like, yeah, Israel kind of sucks. Everyone was like beginning to learn about how much Israel sucked, but they were not there yet. Right. And, you know, my community had been severed almost in half. You know, a third left, went from like 30,000 to barely cracking. We were like sub 20K on a day-to-day basis. So many content creators were just eating so good off of like every other week there would be another incident, another horrifying atrocity that I was trying to shine a light to. And anytime I spoke out on it, people would just do video after video after video with like millions of fucking views being like, he's a terrorist. Look at how much of a fucking terrorist he is. Now, of course, at the time, like I still, and I still abide by this. Like, it doesn't fucking matter. I looked at the issues that I was trying to you know, explain to an audience primarily in the West. And I was like, these people are sacrificing their lives. It's nothing like, you know, feeling shitty.
Yeah, I mean, that is true. And I think the conclusion I would have come to too is that being like shat on by the internet is nothing compared to the suffering of the Palestinian people and the Palestinian resistance. So when it comes to that, I mean, I think that, you know, we can all like our suffering is minuscule. It's nothing, even if it feels like the end of the world or whatever. You know, and I think I'm glad that also is the same mentality that he had and was able to push through it.
And being called a terrorist every day is nothing. People leaving and misunderstanding what I am trying to explain to people is inconsequential in the grand scheme of things, right? I have unbelievable privilege. I can just like push through it. So I'm not, you know, presenting myself as a victim at all. I'm just saying mentally I was there. And then we did this stream. And I think that literally stopped me from quitting. Because I remember I was so close. I was like, I fucking hate all this
I watched this stream, by the way. It was pretty awesome.
shit. I have no friends in this industry. I have no one that will stand by me. All of these other people are like saying I'm Osama bin Laden. They're playing fucking games comparing me to Osama bin Laden. Like some of the top content creators were doing that. And not a single one of the people I know, the people I've like, you know, grown up with in this fucking, in this dark corner of the internet, not a single one of them was like, hey, maybe you shouldn't do that. That's kind of fucked up. Why are you doing that? That's a little racist, don't you think?
Yeah, they're all cowards, man. I mean, I don't blame people, right? I don't blame these centrist, apolitical types or whatever, like the moist criticals or the just standard YouTube, I don't know, the YouTube documentary, like BreadTube people or whatever. Like, I don't know, like Drew Gooden or Danny Gonzalez or whatever. I don't know. They're not that associated with Hassan, so they probably wouldn't really obviously like reach out to him for any of that stuff or whatever. But I do think it is cowardly. I do. If you don't come out and you know, try to advance the conversation in terms of when it comes to like human rights and stuff like this, like I do think it's cowardly. And I'm glad that people are feeling comfortable enough with it now. There's a critical mass that you don't feel like you're going to, you know, get a Hasbro campaign to like, you know, try and destroy your life or whatever, because it's just too much of the common opinion. But without people who are on the front lines like Hassan advancing those opinions, I'm not saying that this wouldn't have happened inevitably, whether Hassan was here or not. But I do think that every person who is out there advocating and like changing the conversation and like shining a spotlight on the atrocities that Israel has committed is part of the effort of pushing that, you know, pushing through the propaganda that is necessary to get to the place that we are currently in. And so I don't know. I have like all the respect in the world for Hassan for like pushing through this, not caving. I think it takes, you know, a level of mental fortitude. Like I said, it's nothing compared to what the Palestinians suffer through, but for a little Westerner like Hassan and me, like it can be scary when you're going up against powerful interests that are like that, have that much political power.
Not even a little bit, right?
And I wish that more people would be less cowardly, personally. Like I do. I don't think it's a admirable trait to sit on the sidelines when something like this is happening, in my personal opinion.
Yeah, why are you doing that? That's a little racist, don't you think? Not even a little bit, right? And then I did this, and we did this stream, and a lot of people tuned in, and we fundraised what, 30 grand in the entire 2-hour stream, or like hour-long stream. And that's when I was reminded that we do actually have an incredible impact.
I just remember him hugging the cow. He seemed like he was so happy. He seems like he had never been that happy in his life when he was hugging that cow.
Like, we are capable of making, changes, albeit marginal. That was my thread of hope. Okay. It was you guys that were in here. It was 40 grand. It's written there. Scroll down a little. Yeah. Not 30, 40 grand. But yeah, that was my thread of hope. For sure. I don't really get touchy-feely nowadays as much, but that's what I was like, damn, we still have the capacity to make changes. Right?
Yeah.
A thread of hope that we can weave together for a better future.
Very admirable. Yeah, I mean, I think that, good for him. Like he was saying, there weren't a lot of people out there. It was very lonely. Even just in like daily life and daily existence, there weren't a lot of people who were, who knew the history and were willing to put their, both like body and reputation on the line for the Palestinian people. So, and I do think he played an important role in getting people to the point that we are currently at. And obviously the work is not over, because Israel is still, able to exist in the way that it is, where it is committing atrocities on every bordering country 24/7. They're entering a permanent state of war, it feels like, where they are planning to just be at war indefinitely forever, similar to Nazi Germany. So the next steps of that are going to be bad unless we stop it through sanctions, advocating for sanctions, organizing people to, get the political class to listen to the will of the people. We're seeing some capitulation when it comes to some of this stuff, but not enough. Sanction, in my opinion, invade and force them into peace at the barrel of a gun. That's probably my opinion, but I don't think that's ever going to happen. But yeah, keep pushing. One day we will see a free Palestine. I do believe. I think it'll be in my lifetime too. And, that's that thread of hope that he's talking about. Okay, people, that is it. That is the stream. I hope you enjoyed it. I had a fun time streaming for you all. Thank you all for watching. If you're watching the VOD, love you too. This has been Technically Clay, and the stream is technically over. Bye-bye.
No, I don't.